Tonight, the Ford government says it plans to raise the minimum wage by 50 cents if re-elected.
He's trying to keep up with the other parties.
Ford says he plans to raise the minimum wage to $15.50 in October. The announcement comes after both the Liberals and the NDP say they will raise the wage to $16 if elected in June. And
our medical advisors have recommended that in Ontario that we go to 60 to provide an added level of protection.
The province will soon be offering fourth doses of the COVID-19 vaccine to everyone 60 and older. Now this as hospitalizations are on the rise during this sixth wave. And
the judge can impose periods of 50 years in jail without parole if they wanted to.
The man who killed an Ajax mother and her 2 children has been sentenced to life in prison, but when he could be up for parole is still being decided. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The provincial election is now less than 2 months away. And today, the Ford government says it will raise the minimum wage by 50 cents to $15.50 an hour if re-elected, with the change coming into effect in October. Our Talia Ricci has reaction tonight.
For small businesses on a long road to recovery, an increase to minimum wage adds to the list of challenges.
The average Ontario small business is in around $160,000 of COVID-related debt. Only about a third of them are at normal revenue levels for this time of year. We are already seeing members trying to up wage to attract employees, and in a lot of cases, it's actually not enough.
The Ford government says it plans to raise the minimum wage by 50 cents this fall to $15.50 per hour. Ontario's Minister of Labour says the move is tied to inflation.
With this raise, Ontario's minimum wage will continue to be among the highest in Canada.
The proposed wage increase would take effect on October 1st, after Ontarians are expected to head to the polls in June.
We're essentially having a campaign announcement every single day from Ford. We're essentially in the campaign already.
The Liberals are promising a wage increase to $16 per hour by January 1st, 2023 if they're elected. The opposition New Democrats have said they'll raise the minimum wage to $16 as of October 1st if elected, and bring the wage to $20 per hour in 2026.
Who knows what the case will be in 2026? Wouldn't that be related to inflation or other issues that arise?
Ford's government previously canceled a 2019 minimum wage increase to $15 from $14.35 per hour, but then raised the wage to $15 in January.
We know that minimum wage would already be today at $15.75 if those increases had gone ahead. So this is far from what workers in this province need.
The Workers' Action Centre and the Justice for Workers campaign is pushing for a $20 minimum wage.
People working 40 hours per week would see their annual pay rise by more than $1,700. But workers' advocates say it's not enough to keep up with rising costs.
People are doing everything that they can to make ends meet. But, with the housing crisis, with the cost of living, we need that minimum wage at a rate where people at least can take a breath.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Those aged 60 or over in Ontario will soon be able to get a fourth dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Health Minister Christine Elliott said today the province will be expanding eligibility. Now, this comes as hospitalizations continue to rise, today climbing past 1,000 for the first time since February. Lorenda Redicop has more.
Okay, here we go.
Today, the Federal Vaccine Advisory Body recommended a second booster shot for everyone 80 and up. Shortly after that announcement, Ontario's health minister says this province will include a larger age group.
Our medical advisors have recommended that in Ontario that we go to 60 to provide an added level of protection to the residents of Ontario.
She says details will come tomorrow. It's unclear whether the chief medical officer will be involved in the update.
This is my last scheduled weekly COVID-19 update, and I want to thank Ontarians.
His last regular briefing was 4 weeks ago. The health ministry has not made him available for any interviews since.
That was Dr. Moore's choice. If he feels that the situation changes and he wants to come back and do more frequent interviews and meetings, then he's certainly free to do so.
COVID hospitalizations are up close to 40% in the past week. Today, at almost 1,100, 1,500, the highest point in a month and a half. Today, the province reported 6 more deaths linked to the virus.
I think it's concerning to many that we haven't seen Dr. Moore for quite some time, and people want to hear from him. As we head into a 6th wave, we need leadership here in Ontario.
It's not over. We're in a 6th wave. It's actually maybe more infectious than the last wave.
The top doctor in Quebec is continuing regular briefings, today extending that province's mask mandate. It had been set to end April 15th, now continuing until at least the end of the month.
The force of this wave, it's spreading very rapidly. It has shown us that it's able to move the number of cases very high.
Ontario's health minister says health advisors here, including Dr. Moore, have not indicated that going back to a mask mandate is needed. That's the type of advice that opposition parties would like to hear directly from the chief medical officer. Lorenda Radicop, CBC News, Toronto.
A judge has sentenced Corey Fenn to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Fenn was found guilty in February in the murders of his ex-girlfriend and her 2 children. He had pleaded not guilty and represented himself, saying he was high on cocaine and therefore not responsible for his actions. But the sentencing today is not the end. As Natalie Collada explains, Fenn's period of parole ineligibility could still be extended.
A beautiful mother inside and out, a kind-hearted teen with a passion for hockey, and a 13-year-old whose cheerfulness and smile would light up a room. Today, Justice Howard Leibowitz took time to speak of each of the victims in the sentencing hearing of the man who killed them, sentencing Corey Fenn to life in prison without the possibility of parole for at least 25 years. Calling Fenn's actions horrific, adding Mr. Fenn's actions destroyed the family and caused considerable harm to the community. In 2018, Fenn killed Krysima Pijanowski, her 15-year-old son Roy, and her 13-year-old daughter Vanelia. The judge today saying he considered the first 2 murders a consecutive act that called for a parole ineligibility period of 25 years. But the murder of Vanelia, 5 hours later, a second occurrence, meaning the time before he's eligible to apply for parole could be even longer.
The judge can consider right now whether or not to stack essentially the parole and eligibility period, meaning that the judge can impose periods of 50 years in jail without parole if they wanted to. But there's a question before the Supreme Court of Canada about whether that's constitutional or unconstitutional.
That case surrounds the parole ineligibility of Alexander Bissonnette. Bissonnette pleaded guilty to 6 counts of first-degree murder after killing 6 people in 2017 at a Quebec mosque. The Quebec Court of Appeal overturned the 40-year period of parole ineligibility for Bissonnette. Now it's up to the Supreme Court if that's considered a cruel and unusual punishment.
It's like putting you in jail and throwing away the key. So the idea that a person can be rehabilitated in the future and can eventually be released from jail and is working towards a release from jail is something that's important for our justice system. And so the judge doesn't want to impose an unlawful sentence and wants some guidance from the Supreme Court.
That guidance is expected in 3 to 6 months. The sentencing of the murder of Vanelia Pijanowski is adjourned until after the Supreme Court releases its decision. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
It was a night of anticipation for Toronto sports fans. Let's start at Scotiabank Arena, where the Raptors have punched their ticket to the NBA playoffs.
For the 8th time in the last 9 seasons, the Toronto Raptors are headed to the playoffs.
The Raptors defeating the Atlanta Hawks 118-108 on home court. And Toronto only has 3 games left in the regular season. It wraps up on Sunday, with the playoffs beginning on April 16th. Now, it's still unclear who the Raps will face in the first round. Meanwhile, the Leafs taking on the Panthers in Florida, and all eyes on Austin Matthews on the verge of franchise history.
In comes Bunting, centers the corner for Matthews, a quick shot, Knight the save. Bunting holds it onside, Matthews shoots, and hammered that wide to Matthews, a one-time drive, Knight the save.
Oh, so close. After scoring his 54th goal of the season last night and tying the franchise record, many expected Matthews would break that record tonight, but not quite. Matthews adding 3 assists, but no goals in a 7-6 overtime loss to the Panthers. The last player to reach 54 goals was Rick Vive back in 1982. Now, Matthews still has a pretty good chance of breaking that record. There's still 12 games left in the regular season. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, the day started out a little bit wet, but then the sun came out, and lucky for us, it stuck around.
Yeah, it was great to see that. And in fact, it happened just a little bit early, which was a good thing. It also means it pushed the temperatures up a little bit warmer than anticipated because we had more hours to enjoy it. So 12 degrees for Toronto and Oshawa, the nation's capital getting up to 13. And we're seeing lots of those on the board for St. Catharines and London. But Kitchener and Kingston, 14 degrees today. Now, there was an easterly breeze, so if you were close to the lakeshore, I know it felt a little bit cooler, but still, we will be seeing an easterly breeze tomorrow, too, a little gusty at times. Overnight, high pressure's in place, so we start off with clear skies. Then as we get towards tomorrow morning, we'll get into increase in cloudiness for southwestern Ontario. By afternoon, we'll see those clouds increasing into the GTA. We'll see afternoon showers to the southwest of us, and eventually towards the evening and overnight we get into some periods of rain coming through the city. We'll time that out and kind of show you how much coming up. Overnight tonight, though, 5 degrees for your low and up to 11 degrees, although, yes, the wind's a little gusty for tomorrow, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. Toronto police are investigating after a woman who was lying on a road in the city's west end was struck and killed by a TTC maintenance vehicle. It happened on Lansdowne, south of DuPont, early this morning.
A TTC service vehicle was traveling southbound on Lansdowne Avenue. They were coming across what they believed was a bag in the middle of the street. It happens in the high windy areas. It was last night. They swerved to miss the bag. They struck it a little bit. It didn't feel right at that time, so as they passed, they immediately did a U-turn and came back to the area and saw what they believed was a body.
The woman, who was in her 40s, was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say it's not clear why she was lying in the middle of the road. Her identity is not being released at this time. TTC service on Lansdowne between DuPont and Lapin Avenue has since resumed. And a body was discovered in a creek near Heath Street and Yonge Street this morning. Police say they received reports for a body in the water just before 9 a.m. The death is being investigated as suspicious. No victim information has yet been released. And the city's latest homicide victim has been identified as 58-year-old Abdi Jama of Toronto. On Saturday, just after 8 p.m., Jama was found stabbed in the area of Ontario Street and Shooter Street. Now, he was rushed to hospital where he died. On Sunday, police arrested and charged 30-year-old Shamar James of Toronto with second-degree murder. Police are asking witnesses or anyone driving in the area at the time who may have dash cam footage to contact them. Effective today, the Ontario government has officially scrapped tolls on highways 412 and 418 in Durham region.
This is great news for the people of Durham and actually anyone traveling through Durham. We're putting money back into people's pockets, and now it's going to be toll-free. And I'll never forget, one of the gals in my office came up to me and said they spent $40 on the toll road. That's $40 that's going back into her pocket. And this is all happening because our great minister, Minister Mulroney, really pushed this, and it's great for the people of Durham.
The Ford government first announced the elimination of tolls on the two highways in February. The move came after a number of Durham region mayors wrote a letter to the province in December urging them to get rid of the tolls. Welcome back. Toronto police are investigating damage done to a clothing shop in the city's downtown. As police look into why this happened, people are pointing to controversial images related to the Russian invasion of Ukraine that were on the company's Instagram page. Our Chris Glover reports.
Whoever caused the damage to this storefront left behind a trail of clues and woke neighbor Carlos Delgado in the middle of the night.
2 or 3 in the morning is very noisy, this area, but that was weird because it was like breaking something.
There's the other one.
What did you just hand him?
Hammer.
Mike Stein at the bike shop next door shared security footage of the incident with police.
Police said nothing was stolen, so it was just smash the windows and throw paint on it.
As investigators piece together why this happened, Stein and many online think these photos from the shop's Instagram page that have now been removed may be the reason. The Z symbol has been widely adopted to endorse Russia's attacks on Ukraine.
Which is surprising because over all the years I've been working there, I've never seen anything political come out of that shop.
We tried to do an interview with the shop's owner. They refused and said they didn't sell Zed merchandise, but wouldn't explain how the images got on their company's Instagram page. Regardless of how the images were on the Toronto company's page, the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress is shaken.
I don't think that people should be vandalizing anything. It is also true that it's easy to see why people would be upset and disgusted.
For a letter that only seems to have taken on meaning since February, it's rapidly taken on dramatic prominence.
For people who support the war, for people who support the regime, it's a sign of loyalty. For people who are outraged by the war, it is essentially treated as a swastika and understood in that way.
Toronto police say its hate crime unit has been made aware of the investigation into the damage.
Attacking other people or destroying other locations is not the way, we come back to the fact about war. War is not the answer.
Delgado is just calling for calm in his neighborhood while the truth of what happened is properly uncovered. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto. Nailed it. Thank you.
And Ukrainian officials and other investigators are taking account of the bodies still being found in the town of Bucha. And we want to warn viewers, the details in some images are disturbing. Most of the victims appear to have been shot at close range. Some had their hands bound, and a few bodies were found burned or mutilated. Many residents there had survived the month-long Russian occupation by hiding in their homes. Ukrainian officials warned that the discovery of civilian massacres in Bucha is not an isolated case. They expect to find similar horrors once they recapture more towns north of Kiev. Meanwhile, NATO is warning that Russia is regrouping its forces to deploy them to eastern and southern parts of Ukraine. And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mostly clear tonight with some cloud cover overnight, staying dry though, at least for now. Currently, it is about 10 degrees in the city. All right, let's go back to Colette now with a look at your full forecast. And Colette, some showers will be making their way back, but it won't be a washout.
Yeah, we're seeing that kind of pattern this week. We do have some unsettled conditions. It's not going to be rain all the time, not necessarily heavy, but just here and there we get into some of these rain showers. So we have a chance tomorrow into the afternoon hours, but it's a slim chance. Primarily what you'll notice is just some increase in cloudiness as the day wears on. But as we get to the evening and overnight hours, that's when we'll have a better chance of seeing some periods of rain. So most of that while most of us are sleeping, so into Wednesday, towards Thursday morning. But the temperatures mild today, and we've got a few days here where we're going to be seeing those temperatures in the double digits again. So a little, seasonal right now is right around 9-10 degrees, but just a little bit above. Tomorrow morning, the clouds will start increasing here from Windsor towards Sarnia, Chatham-Kent, approaching London, but elsewhere we start off with some sunshine here unless you're in extreme eastern Ontario. Then the clouds increase for the afternoon into Toronto. We see the showers beginning to develop, and at times a little bit heavier here between London and Windsor, and then it pulls through in those overnight hours and we get into those periods of rain that we'll be seeing here as well. And then Thursday, what's really going to be happening is there'll be some wraparound. So quite a bit of clouds, sort of variable skies, and the odd shower chance again on that day as well. But it should be lighter in nature there. In terms of what's going to go through, we'll be seeing perhaps 10 to 15 millimeters through the Golden Horseshoe and a little bit less in terms of what you're going to get into Windsor, but in that 10 to 15 there for London as well. Tonight, yes, we had the fog advisories last night, southwestern Ontario, and it does look like we could see some significant fog again tonight. You get into the wet weather tomorrow afternoon, but look at those temperatures, not just double digits, into the mid-teens. Slightly different story with that ridge in place tonight around the Golden Horseshoe, and then the highs tomorrow. You'll see they're a little varied, and that's with that easterly flow coming in off the lake. The winds will be kind of blustery at times, and that makes it a little bit cooler there towards Hamilton. Into Thursday, 13th, that chance of showers in the afternoon, and a chance for some showers into Friday too, Kelda.
All right, thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, rehearsals have begun for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. The play opens May 31st at the Ed Mirvish Theater, and while you're sure to see many potions and spells on stage, some of the real magic is in the costumes. Here's a sneak peek.
Welcome to Hogwarts!
I'm thrilled. We've spent so long anticipating this, almost 3 years since I found out I got the job. So it became an anticipation of something, but to actually have it be embodied is like another planet.
Harry Potter, and I'm a Slytherin. No, I'm not.
It's been a very long time coming. When I first got cast in the role, it was obviously a hugely exciting opportunity, and it feels even more exciting now, obviously, because of what we've been through. It's people coming together, which is still a bit of a scary thing, but is so important to start celebrating a live experience again. And this is a show which is, of course, actual magic. At its heart, it's a human story. Of course, you can't tell a Harry Potter story without magic.
So the costumes in this show are obviously built to look, as part of our Hogwarts world, the wizarding world. They're slightly more magical, but also there's familiarity, I guess, that you can relate to with a school uniform, but it just has a more sort of wizarding cloak to it. But also the other side of what's so great and magical about our costumes is that we hide so many illusions and we facilitate in the creation of the magic that you see live on stage. But yeah, you've got one pocket there and a little pocket here.
So good.
Secrets.
Okay, secrets.
To be revealed later.
Waiting the 2 years for this project to get going, when they did put my wizard robes on me, I just started crying immediately. And I'm not a big crier, but it was just a really special thing, and it was really meaningful.
There's a lot of processes that get to this stage. The actors, kind of can feel for the first time what it's like to be wearing the uniforms or the different, characters. So, all starts to become more real for everybody.
That's really cool. It's really exciting.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night.